Yesterday, the Chicago Bulls took the next step in their rebuild by hiring Tiago Splitter as their new head coach to follow up Billy Donovan. This is a hiring that a lot of Bulls fans are excited about, and there are a lot of reasons to be excited about what Tiago Splitter could bring to the Chicago Bulls as the new head coach, namely his development and also the style of play. On today's episode, I want to talk about that style of play that Tiago Splitter is going to be bringing to the Bulls, which Bulls on the roster are currently set to benefit the most from it, and shortly after Tiago Splitter was named as the head coach officially of the Chicago Bulls, Caleb Wilson, who had not had any pre-draft workouts, completed his pre-draft workout for the Chicago Bulls. Is that a coincidence? I think not. I'm going to talk about why Tiago Splitter is the perfect coach to develop Caleb Wilson. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And before we even get started, I just want to say this. Well, first, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We got a goal of getting to 50,000 subscribers by the start of the 2026-27 season. Is it a lofty goal? Hell yeah. We're about 1,700 away from getting to that goal. But why set the sights low? But, before we get into this is a really refreshing time for the Chicago Bulls. And, like I said on my live stream, I don't expect every Bulls fan to be head over heels about Tiago Splitter. There is a reason to have questions. Like, I think that we live in a society now where when people view any legitimate doubts, criticisms, or questions, and they automatically go to, well, why are you hating? And it's such a stupid, if you hear some criticism about somebody and a normal criticism, and your first mindset is to go to, why are you hating? You're stupid. I mean, just to be quite frank, right? It's different if it's some wild thing that people come out of left field with when it's like, well, he's not black. Now that's different, right? But I think Tiago Splitter he offers a lot potentially of what he can bring. But I won't lie and say there are some things as a head coach that he also needs to grow and develop on. And there's some things that we're betting on potential with a coach. Coaches are not finished products, especially when you're this young into your head coaching career. Head coaches are going to develop just like players are going to develop. And, Tiago Splitter at 41 years old is one of the younger head coaches in the league, and he's going to have to grow, develop, and figure it out. But now he has a platform and a base to be able to do that. The Portland Trail Blazers didn't give him that. The one thing that we heard about the Bulls and what they were going to offer Tiago Splitter that was enticing to him is a long runway to actually develop this team and develop as a head coach. I think we heard that 4 years was probably the deal that he's going to be getting, and that's probably what it's like. 4 years now, you're going to have 4 years, the first basically rookie contract of the rookie we're drafting at number 15. You're going to have more years from 4 years for Buzelis, 4 years of Noa Essengue. So you see what you can develop with those guys, and it's going to be time. But for those that don't have time to go over tape, this is what Chicago Bulls Central is for. So yesterday, after the hire, I watched a total about 2.5 or 3 hours of coaching tape on Tiago Splitter, dating all the way back from when he coached overseas in France, all the way to the Portland Trail Blazers. And so I wanted to look specifically at adjustments, right? Was something that I was looking at is how did the first game go? And then for games that either came back in or they came back and won after being down, I wanted to see the type of adjustments that they made in that. And so I think throughout that, I have compiled a list of four things that are the strongest suits of Tiago Splitter's coaching style that I want to talk about on this episode, and we're going to start off with that now. Number one is he's a development first coach. Tiago Splitter's strongest selling point in him being a head coach is that he came from player development roles in Brooklyn. He did assistant work in Houston, and he was one of the key factors in actually developing Şengün there in Houston. And Şengün has given him credit on his all-star leap coming from working with Tiago Splitter. He also was head coach in Paris. Of course, he had the interim job in Portland. One of the things that stood out about him is that he has developed every step of the way, even when coaching in Paris, right? And I think that matters a lot for where this Bulls roster build is right now. You got young pieces on this team like Buzelis, Noa Essengue, Leonard Miller, if you want, include him in there. You got the 4 and 15 coming into this draft. I'm starting to think we're going to trade out of 38, but more on that in a second. But 4, 15, and 38, you're going to have 3 more young pieces potentially coming into this team, and then the refinement of Josh Giddey as a player as well. You look at the leap that Deni Advia made last season, and a lot of the way that Deni Advia played, you can look at that and say, hey, they can use Josh Giddey in a similar way, and even more of a way in a lot of ways because of Josh Giddey's ability to really control that offense, right? So I think that that's things that you have to look at, and the development first coach that he brings. And the thing with that is that leads us to our number 2 thing is that, this is somebody who gives it gives structured freedom. That's what I'm calling it, structured freedom, right? Because his offensive style is built around organized flexibility, meaning everybody eats, but it's not chaotic, right? Sometimes when you have these teams that spread the ball out to everybody, it doesn't seem as if like it's structured. He's going to offer structure, but he's also not going to be afraid to throw the young players out there. One of the things that Tiago Splitter did do in Portland is he gave the keys to the young players, to Shaedon Sharpe, to Deni Advia, to Donovan Clingan, right? Whereas Chauncey Billups, not to say that he had a complete, short leash on the young players, but they really did play more through those veterans and like Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday when they had him and stuff like that. And so, it's going to be more structured freedom. And we talked about how Billy Donovan and his coaching style towards the end there, it didn't really provide that freedom for every player on the team. It just didn't, right? No offense to Billy Donovan, but, he really kind of doubled down on the vets and the point guards and stuff like that, but he didn't really offer that freedom, like cutting out the mid-range completely. And Portland wasn't a team that shot heavily from the mid-range. It's not about all of a sudden becoming some heavy mid-range shooting team, but it is about not completely eliminating that and the strategic benefits that gives you, because you still allow that freedom for players to be able to play and shoot in the mid-range. So, that's an important part of all of this, I think. So you're seeing that part for the Bulls as well. And I think that structured freedom that Tiago Splitter does provide and allow his players, when you talk about growth, when you talk about development, when you talk about trying to get players to the next level, that's what you're hoping to see from Tiago Splitter. And so I love that he offers that to his players. I think that that's something that you can't overlook, especially in a development phase, is that it's going to bring out a lot of the best in players, and they're going to have this opportunity really now to shine. And some players learn through sinking or swimming. Buzelis, and the way that Billy Donovan had his structure in developing Modest is that, Modest really didn't get that leash off at really maybe until the end of last season, really under Billy Donovan. And for the Bulls, a team that only shot 4.5% of their shots came in the mid-range. That's dead last. Dead last in the NBA. You're going to have more of the floor open. You're going to have more freedom, and you're going to have more kind of fluidity in your team as well. So I think those are all things that are going to help this team get to where it needs to get to. And hopefully we start seeing some of that development come a lot quicker for the players that we have on this team. And that's really what it's about. When you look at the Portland Trailblazers, for example, just their shooting profile, especially like in the playoffs, 12% of their shots were coming from mid-range. Again, not a huge percentage, but just enough to where the balance is better. And that's really what it's about. He's going to be more structured freedom and balance. Number 3 is that ball movement and accountability. Tiago Splitter's European coaching background and the experience of the Spurs, both playing there and being under Pop there, he's the way that his offensive system is described as ball movement, accountability, quick decision making, and teaching, right? I think that's something that's going to directly work with this. Expect less of the your turn, my turn offense that the Chicago Bulls have really had over the last few years. It's not going to be that. The offense is going to be more fluidity. It's going to be based more off read and react, cuts, handoffs, short rolls, those type of things. You're going to see a lot more of that with the Bulls, for the basketball heads, right? I know like kind of the more casuals, and this isn't a shot at you guys, but for some of the more casuals, they don't really understand that, right? For people who watch basketball and watch Billy Donovan, the way that he coached last year, we didn't really have any advanced sets, especially not in the half court. It was all running in transition, getting to the three-point line, and attacking the basket somewhere you can, but you're going to see more actual fluidity through the offense. And I'm not saying Tiago Splitter is the most creative offensive coach, but just the fact that he has those things in his bag and things that that you can bet and rely on, they're going to do a lot more. You're going to see better from players. But then also I want to talk about number 4 on this list. And I think this is an important one. Bryson Graham pointed this out too, is the defense as a foundation. While Portland Trailblazers' success was built on a young group of players that competed but also defend, right? you have to look at this when it comes down to it. Defense is one of his coaching strong suits. The Portland Trailblazers, they didn't have the best defensive roster, right? I think most people would agree with that. They're going to fight that. They're going to say, the Portland Trailblazers had Donovan Clingan, and then they didn't have a lot of really good on-ball defenders. They just didn't, right? No knocks to them. But yet, they still were top half of the league defensively. They were 13th defensively in the NBA last season. And I think now when you look at adding a player like Caleb Wilson, which we're likely to do, and we'll see what else we add, the Bulls are going to have more fluidity defensively, and that's going to help this team. So I think Tiago Splitter's defensive sensibilities overlap with Bryson Graham's roster building philosophies. And that's going to be that marriage between the two. If that end up working out, that's where you're going to see development hit at a really high phase for the Chicago Bulls, right? So size, length, athleticism, physicality, that's going to help with that defensive identity that Tiago Splitter likes to get with. Again, slap isn't the end-all, be-all. I'm not using it for that. But I do think those defensive strengths that Tiago Splitter does bring are really going to stand out. So that leads us to the next thing. Which players on this Bulls roster are going to benefit, right? Are the most from Tiago Splitter? I have a list here, and I have exactly why they're going to be a really good fit for Tiago Splitter. So number one, Josh Giddey. I think the fit here with Josh Giddey and Tiago Splitter is excellent. He's a big playmaker, a rebounder, a passer, and based off Tiago Splitter's read-based offense, that they like to do the reads and figure off that, Josh Giddey, 17 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, it's going to fit excellently in that. Now it's up to Josh Giddey to show he can continue to develop his game and take it further, but I do think the play style of Josh Giddey is going to fit in with the coaching sensibilities of Tiago Splitter pretty well. Miles Buzelis, another excellent fit for Tiago Splitter's system. The long forward, the scoring and defensive upside. Tiago's going to push Miles Buzelis to grow as an on and off ball defender. We already saw him grow as an on ball defender, but that off ball work is going to be really important for that. And he also fits the profile of Bryson Graham. A lot of people recently have brought up Modest may not survive. Modest is going to survive. If Modest continues to grow as a player, I'm not saying he's going to be the main build around piece, but he's going to survive this roster. I have a pretty good idea on that. Next up, I think that Noa Essengue is also a very good fit. Now, we have heard that the Bulls may have floated Noa Essengue's name around in an attempt to move up to I hate it when that happens, to move up to from number 15, and that still makes some sense, right? I think in fairness, that makes some sense because you're drafting another forward. But for the play style that Noa Essengue is, as well as coming over from that European philosophy of basketball, he's raw, but he's the type of long, skilled, athletic forward that Tiago Splitter likes teaching, and his background in development is really going to help Noa Essengue. I think he's going to be great for Leonard Miller, too. I think when you look at, we talked about how the Deni V and Josh Giddey, I think when you also look at some of the mix between Shaden and Deni and all that, Leonard Miller can fit into that really good. His mobility as a forward, the 6'10", the youth that he has as well, he's going to need structure and role clarity, which I don't think he had last year under Billy Donovan, but I think that's going to be a really good fit for him as well. And then I'll say this, I don't know if he's going to stay around, right? And this isn't a list of players that are going to stay on this roster long term. It's just how they fit into what Tiago Splitter likes to do. Isaac Okoro, as that defensive wing guard combination that can help set a tone and a little bit of the identity defensively, I think he's going to work really well under Tiago Splitter if they end up holding on to him. There still is a world in which Isaac Okoro is traded on draft night to a veteran team in some type of move, but I do think Isaac Okoro does fit the mold of the Chicago Bulls. And then I'll say this. I think Jalen Smith is going to fit. I think the floor spacing big. I think that he's going to really use him as more of a 4 than a 5. I think that works. But Rob Dillingham, I do think the small but creative guard, I think the passing of Rob Dillingham, the passing that I even talked about that really surprised me with Rob Dillingham is the way that he saw the court even being smaller. I don't know about the offense and how that offense is going to work, but I do think that structure that that Tiago Splitter provides with that read and react offense, I think if Rob Dillingham actually completely buys into my role as a point guard, get other guys involved first, and I'll find my shot in the flow. If he braces that, he could fit it. I'm not saying that Rob Dillingham is some amazing player. He's going to be some high-level NBA player either, but I do think that the style that Tiago Splitter does play is that this is going to be a sink or swim situation for Rob Dillingham. If you can't make it work with Tiago and Tiago doesn't see it in you, then it's not going to be there, not on this Bulls team. And then I think that the least clean fits, the players that don't fit necessarily the most natural, and I know people have been talking, Patrick Williams, the tools fit, right? The tools of Patrick Williams fits. But if Patrick Williams continues to not play with the motor, not the aggression, and that, Tiago Splitter isn't going to play him. I can tell you that right now. Tiago Splitter is not going to play Patrick Williams if we continue to see the lack of awareness, the lack of desire, the lack of care. Patrick Williams is going to find himself on the end of the bench, and that's where he should be. I know I've seen a lot of Bulls fans ask since Tiago was hired, like, hey, could he be the guy that wakes up Patrick Williams? I'm not saying that, but I will say that if Patrick Williams does not, like, the tools do fit. The tools fit. But one thing that stands out about Tiago, he's not playing you if you don't show a passion for the game. That's just the reality of it. And then I do think that Zach Collins has a chance to stay around here as well. I say this, like, the skilled big, the stuff that he brings on both sides, the two-way play, I can see that fitting under Tiago Splitter. He just can't stay healthy, which is always going to make him a risk, and that may be why he doesn't stay with the Bulls. But the skill set does fit the way that Tiago Splitter likes his centers to play. So that's how it affects the current roster. But now let's shift this and talk about what it means for the draft. Now, at number 4, I'm not even getting into number 4 because at number 4, you're taking who falls between Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson. That's it. And even Darren Peterson, if he does fall, which via the latest rumors, he's not going to fall. But at the end of the day, you're going to take who you're going to take at number 4. Do I think that Tiago's play style fits into number 15 and number 38? I do. So I want to talk about the best fits that are possible at number 15 and number 38 that fit the play style of Tiago Splitter. Number 1, Morez Johnson Jr. I think this is the best fit, absolutely. If Morez Johnson Jr. is there at number 15, Tankathon currently ranks him at number 15. NBADraft.net currently has him around that area as well. If he lasts, and it's still an if he lasts, what he brings as far as the size, the 6'10 size, the wingspan, the 251 pounds, the 1.1 blocks per game, the rebounds per game, the 67% true shooting percentage, that absolutely fits under what Tiago Splitter likes as a big. He's going to bring role clarity to that. He's going to screen. He's going to rebound. He's going to finish as well and defend. And I think that, it's just a perfect fit in regards to that. Morez Johnson is not like the flashy pick, but he is a pick that I do think would absolutely work out. I think that Morez Johnson would be the culture pick that Bryson Graham would like, plus the roster fit that Tiago Splitter would like. A Daymar absolutely fits as well, right? Higher ceiling. If is he going to be there at 15? We'll see, right? Tankathon currently lists him at 7'4", 260 pounds, 12.1 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 2.6 blocks. We've talked about a Daymar recently. If he falls at number 15 or the Bulls, get a little bit more aggressive, moving up to maybe 8 to get him, he could be there. Again, Tiago Splitter is a big man coach. If anybody's going to develop a Daymar, Tiago Splitter is going to definitely develop him. And while the concern about his mobility is there, what Tiago Splitter does value is the aggressive defense that Mar is going to bring and that rim protection, that rim protection in space. You just don't want to switch him out into that one, right? This is that Splitter can develop this big pick. Then I think LeBaron Fallon also fits as well, absolutely. Tiago tends to like downhill guards who can operate in pick and roll and make quick reads. Fallon fits all of that, right? I think he fits that completely. Now, of course, he doesn't fit slap, but you don't have to fit slap to get that. And I do think he replaces some of that shot creation that was missed that we now miss because of Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu being gone. He would fit that go out there and get a bucket type mentality for the Chicago Bulls. And then lastly, Jaden Quant. Well, no, I have 2 more. Jaden Quantance definitely would be a fit. Again, the upside swing of Quantance, it depends on that injury that he has, how confident you feel in that one. He was limited in his time, but Jaden Quantance and his wingspan, the switchability, all those type of things, he's a guy that needs structure. Tiago Splitter would provide that structure. And I think that if the medicals check out and if Morez is off the board, Jaden Quantance could definitely be a pick there for the Chicago Bulls. And then lastly, a player that I don't think is going to fall, but some mocks have him falling around this area, Yaxel Lindenberg. Now, I know the age is a concern there. And here's one thing that I've had to come to on the age, in my personal opinion. You're getting your huge upside swing at number 4. Yaxel Lindenberg if he was to fall at number 15, like, we got to stop acting like he's like 30. Like, Yaxel, even at 24, could still have a 12-year NBA career with how players are playing. And, he has the super high floor. Now, do I think we're going to pick him because we're going power forward at number 4 most likely? No, but if, like, say, Darren Peterson was the one to fall at number 4, I think Yaxel at number 15 could make a lot of sense for the Bulls under Splitter and under what Bryson Graham likes as well. But picks at number 15, now this is in a lot of ways a little bit more important. I have my favorite guys here at pick number 38, and I think all these guys plus one actually fit the mold of what you want to see from under Tiago Splitter. Trevon Brazil. I love this kid more and more every time that I see him. He's mocked at number 41 by Tankathon. He's listed at 6'10", 226 pounds. He averaged 13 points, 7 rebounds, 1.6 blocks, 1.5 steals. I like Trevon Brazil. I like him more and more each time I see him. And I think at pick number 38, even if he ends up just being a career backup, he brings tons of upside at that position, and I like him. I think he has the tools. He has the size. Yeah, he's a little bit older, right? He's a little bit older, but I do think at 38, you take a little bit older, it fits a lot of what you're trying to get there. Next up, Zuby Ejiofor. Love this kid. If he's there at pick number 38, he's mocked around number 36. Listen, I think that if this guy slides, perfect fit. 6'8", 245 pounds. He averaged 16.3 points, 7.3 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 2.1 blocks. Sign me up for Zuby Ejiofor. And then lastly, a guy that I recently scouted, and that's Emmanuel Sharp out of Houston, right? Tankathon has him going at number 39, right after the Chicago Bulls pick. He's listed as 6'4", 208 pounds, 15.5 points per game, and 58% true shooting percentage. This is a guy that I think fits that perimeter need very well for this team potentially. And if you end up going forward and center in rounds 1, going this player, Emmanuel Sharp, in round 2 fits a lot of what the Bulls need and are going to want from that wing position. So I think Emmanuel Sharp is somebody also to look out for. But that's it. That's kind of my profile under Tiago Splitter. No, it's pretty long and detailed, but that's what I wanted to bring to this episode. But I also want to talk about an update that we got yesterday. So one of the things that's been made a lot about over the last few days is the fact that Caleb Wilson, as the number 4 overall, or projected number 4 overall pick in this draft, had not worked out for any teams. And after the Bulls, about an hour after the Chicago Bulls hired Tiago Splitter, officially announced it, it was announced that Caleb Wilson was in Chicago and he worked out for the Chicago Bulls yesterday. So Caleb Wilson has now officially had his pre-draft workout with the Chicago Bulls. This comes from Sham Sharani of ESPN. So I will say this. I'm going to say this and I'm going to leave it here. If you guys want to go ahead and put in some money, bet on it. I think that Caleb Wilson is going to be a Chicago Bull. I think you can pretty much bet on that one. So I think that's pretty quick in regards to that, right? And so now after that, what does Tiago Splitter mean for Caleb Wilson? And here's what I'm going to say. Tiago Splitter is the perfect coach to develop Caleb Wilson. That's just it, right? He's the type of guy that could end up leading your franchise. And Tiago Splitter is going to put a lot on Caleb Wilson first. Now, he's not going to put him outside of things that are in the skill range. He's not going to be like, hey, isolate here in the mid-range and create a shot. He's going to do some of that. But I think that Caleb Wilson and the drive that he has, the two-way star that Caleb Wilson wants to become, Tiago Splitter is going to be the type of, because he's not going to be like Billy Donovan where you have to sit and watch first before you end up playing. Tiago's gonna love that mindset of Caleb Wilson. He's going to say, all right, bet, go out there and show me something. I think pairing Wilson and Modest long-term makes so much sense already for the Chicago Bulls. And now having Tiago Splitter as a good development coach of young talent while he's developing as a coach as well, you're going to probably see that Tibbs-Jimmy, that Tibbs-Rose relationship. You're going to see that form very early on with Tiago and Caleb Wilson. You can bet your money on that. You're going to see that relationship develop really early on. Tiago Splitter is the perfect guy to develop Caleb Wilson. And I think that you're now seeing how everything is moving lock, stock, and barrel. That's what's happening here. The Bulls hire their head coach, and then they turn around and interview the guy that hasn't worked out for anybody. And we're not going to hear a lot of the details of this workout. I think what it came down to it is that the Bulls had their coach. It was the first time that Bryson Graham, the front office, Tiago Splitter, Caleb Wilson, Caleb Williams' agent, all got to sit down in the same room. And I guarantee you what they talked about was how Caleb Wilson is going to be used, the plan for the roster, what they want to see out of Caleb Wilson. And Caleb got a chance to sell them on his personality and why he's going to be somebody that comes into the Chicago Bulls organization and immediately ups the standard here. And so I think everything's falling into place for the Chicago Bulls, and Tiago Splitter was the next step along in this rebuild path. Now let's see where it's going to take us. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. I want to hear from you guys on this one. How do you feel about the hire of Tiago Splitter? How do you feel about the roster fits and who fits with this roster and what this means for the building and the development of these players going forward? Let me know that all down below. Tiago Splitter gives the Bulls something that they needed: a developmental voice, a defensive mindset, and a coach that is going to be able to grow with the young roster instead of just managing a young roster. And I think that's an important part of that. Bryson Graham needed to find the right coach for the vision of this team, and we'll see there. So whether it's Caleb Wilson at number 4, Morez at number 15, a second-round pick like Zuby Ejiofor, Emmanuel Sharp. I think this Bulls roster is going to start coming more and more together. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it as well. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell as well so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See red, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation